Well, hello everyone, and welcome once again to Ignite with Sandy. Yes, the weekly program that I do, the webinar that I do on the Celestial platform, which is a great platform for women where we bring you powerful women from all over the world to share their stories so that you and I can learn something and perhaps do something better in our lives. So it's all about work life balance, it's all about being emotionally strong, it's all about realizing your dreams, your ambitions, educating yourself, developing yourself. So there's a whole lot of things that we do on the Celestia platform. And Ignite with Sandy is a special program, and I have the opportunity of bringing on amazing women from whom I have learned a lot. And this week is a lady who actually reached out to me a couple of years ago. I didn't even know she existed. And then I get this message on Facebook saying that she had read an article that I had written and she liked what I wrote and that she had borrowed something from what I had written and put it in her article, but she was professional enough to give me credit for that. And that was the beginning of our friendship. And the other thing that we had in common is her daughter and my daughter have the same name. So we've always kept in touch, and she's always been a very warm and open person. And then an opportunity arose, and she reached out, and I said, this is got to be one of the best interviews that I'm going to be doing for 2024. So, as you know, I never ever introduce my guest, and I always get them to introduce themselves. And I warned her that she will be introducing herself. So, I'm not going to bring on, and she will be introducing herself. Hello, my dear, and welcome to Ignite with Sandy. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, dear Sandy. I am very happy to be here in your show and to have this conversation with you. I am Hadassah Vorm. I am the mother of five. I have three grandchildren and one on the way. And I have two companies. In one of my companies, which is Ora Offshore Customs Consultancy, I um, provide information to offshore companies about customs rules and regulations regarding the offshore. And my second company is Hadassah Vorm, just as my name. And there I am coaching female entrepreneurs in the Netherlands, but also in Suriname. And sometimes I am also invited in India about the healing path, which I also walked through myself, but also a lot of women who I met in the last years. I noticed that they were really successful in their business, but still struggled with trauma, child trauma, and the functioning of the business is not 100% as it should be because of those traumas. So therefore, I reached out to women and I coach them on, especially on the trauma they have suffered.
Okay, so when you're talking about the women and the trauma, and how about healing, there are many coaches that I've come across who do healing and who do trauma, but they've sort of learned it. They've done some courses, they've got certified, and they sort of specialize in this. So, in your case, like as you shared with me, it was about life experiences, and that is what led you to do this. So, could you share with our audience how did you start this? What was your journey like when you were growing up? So, could you start by telling us when you were a little girl, how was life for you?
Well, when I was a small child, I was born in a cult, in a religious cult. And so for me, from childhood on, I was very strict brought up. And at a very young age, I was around 6 years, I also suffered from child abuse in this cult. So you can imagine that from a very small age, I struggled a lot because there was the silence, there was the abuse, and there was the religious strict cult with all the rules and regulations which you had to oblige to. It was not easy. And in this cult, there are so many rules and regulations, and my father was very strict. My mother as well, but my father also, he was very strict. And so it was very difficult for me to move around as a child would do and would like to do. And that was not very easy.
What was your relationship with your mother?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Um, I told you a little bit already about um, the mother hunger, which is something which occurs a lot in the conversations I have with women. So my mother was emotional unavailable, and she was in the house. She was not working. My father didn't want her to work, but emotional, not available for me. And that was very difficult because as a child, as a girl, you need your mother. And by the way, our first love in our life, that means boys and girls, is your mother. It's the first one you are connected with emotionally. So that was very difficult for me as a child, and I couldn't understand it because now I'm grown, now I'm older, I went through a lot. So now I understand that it was also the trauma she had suffered, and also my father, which made them the way they were. But as a child, you cannot understand it. You don't understand what is going on in the house and why everything is so strict and so without any compassion.
So,
Um,
so you were in this cult, and then you got married. So, did you marry somebody from outside, or was it somebody from the cult? I mean, were you allowed to meet other people other than the members of the cult?
no, it's just inside this cult, and you are not allowed to play with children outside the cult because they are all don't believe what you believe. My parents believed because I never believed it anyway. And so yes, I married into the religion, and there was no other way out. And then I got pregnant, and then I got my daughter. And within a few years, I think she was three, almost 3 years, he decided to go further with a friend of mine, also in the cult. She was my best friend. So that was that. And then it was, of course, it was very shameful to be uh, separated from your husband, because a divorce was also not allowed, only when one of the partners would take another partner. So okay, that was not my fault, as you can say so. But still, it was very difficult because my father couldn't handle it that I was divorced. So very soon, I was involved in a friend of my brother, also in the cult. So I married for the second time. And um, that was also a very difficult thing because there was a lot of alcohol abuse and also physical abuse. And I had learned from very, very small childhood to not talk about things. And so I didn't talk about it, so nobody knew about it. Also, my parents didn't know.
Okay, so because you were suffering in silence, obviously, that was much more stressful for you. And at that time, you had twins, correct? So, how was your relationship with your children, considering that you had not had that emotional connection with your mother?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Because I was with my first child, my daughter, I was very close when she was a baby because I loved her so much, and you think you can do everything different, and you try to do everything different, but I really didn't know how to make an emotional contact, really. Um, and then I got twins, two boys, and the relationship with my ex-husband yeah, it went bad to worse. And so at a certain level, I told him that I would not continue this. And he told me, you can go, but you cannot bring the children with you. In the meantime, my daughter was already out of the house, but the twins were then 7 years old. And so it took me years to see that I could not continue like this because I was getting uh, how do you say it? I got confused emotionally and also
Were you
like
depressed? Were you depressed at
yeah,
that time?
yeah. It was really depression, and I thought it was because I had babies again, and it was of the hormones and. But I really was in distress, and I reached out to a psychiatrist, and he gave me medication. And then I started, for the first time in my life, I started to talk about the things I had went through.
But
And that
sorry to interrupt, darling, but at this time, were you still in the cult or you had moved out of that place?
No, I was still in it.
Okay.
And because I was speaking about things, I discovered that it gave me a relief. And then I also felt like I cannot continue to live like this because I was so unhappy, because depression is really kind of, it's like all the things you went through and it goes inside.
Yeah.
So instead of, because you're not speaking about it, it goes to yourself.
Yeah.
So you are harming yourself, so to speak. So what I did, I took the courage to go away, and but I didn't have money. I didn't have a roof over my head, and I could stay with a friend, but just for 1 or 2 nights. And I had to leave my children, and that was, yeah, rock bottom for me because I was in Amsterdam without a house, without a roof over my head, without money, without my children, and only the clothes I was wearing. So there was the birth of my mission to help women to understand how important it is to be financially independent and to take care of yourself, not only physical, but also financially, because I was alone. My family has abandoned me they shunned me. So because I was out of the cult, when I went away, I stepped out of the cult. So they were not allowed to speak to me anymore. So I was all by myself. And therefore it's so important that you speak about what you are going through, because in the end I did, and it has brought me so much.
So once you came out of the cult and you found yourself homeless and without money, what did you do in order to start earning money? What did you do to find a place to stay?
The first thing I did was we had some offices where there was some fashion shops, and I went there and I said, I need a job. Do you have work for me? And thankfully they had a job for me as a receptionist. So I started directly, and I was also starting with salsa lessons because um, when I was talking to the psychiatrist and also to the people, I was also in group therapy. They advised me to do something for myself, and I started to follow some salsa lessons. So I met people who were outside of the cult, which was really annoying for my ex-husband and also for my parents because they didn't like that at all. But therefore I could get in touch with other people, and I met another nice lady, and she said to me, well, you don't have a roof over your head, you can also stay with me. So that's what I did. I earned my money, and then I found within, yeah, I think 3 months or something, I found a very small apartment in the center of Amsterdam. So I had at least a roof over my head, and that was such a wonderful, yeah, gift for me.
So, how old were you at that time?
Sorry,
How old were you? What was
I
your
was
age?
I was 39.
Okay.
Yeah, I
So,
was 39.
okay, so now you got yourself a job
Yeah.
and you managed to get yourself a room. What, how did you move forward? What was your journey then? Did you study some more? Did you
Yes.
go and speak to more people? What did you do to grow in your career, in your business, and also earn more money?
Well, I met my husband, and I'm now already for almost 27 years with him, married with him, and we still got two children afterwards. And I studied like a crazy one because that was also something which was not encouraged at all in the cult. So I did a lot of studies, and I worked and I worked and I talked to women, of course. And then we moved to because the children were disappeared. He was remarried very fast, and he was moved with the children, and we didn't know where the children were. So that was so very difficult for me. And then we decided to go to South America, my husband and I, and the youngest, and to start a business there. So we lived for many years in South America. We built a business there. And at a certain point, when the youngest really needed more education, we came back to the Netherlands, and there we started all over again. Um, and so by studying and working and reaching out to women, because it was always something I didn't learn it from the books, even though I have certificates and diplomas to coach women. I know it from the practice, and that is so different. So
Yes.
I can help women. I know, and I do help women. So that's
Yes.
wonderful to do.
Yes, quite true. I always say life experiences are your best teacher. And
Yeah.
when the experiences are very traumatic, like you have gone through, obviously, there's a lot more that you can share. But I have to ask you this. You went through a lot of emotional trauma because you were abused as a child. You did not have any emotional support. And then your two marriages didn't work. And then the most traumatic thing was your twins were taken away from you and you didn't know where they were till
Hmm.
much later. So, can
Hmm.
you tell us little about how did you get in touch with them again, and how was your relationship with the twins now?
That was very difficult because I was expelled from the cult. I had done a request to expel me. I didn't want to be any part of it anymore. And then it's like the people who are still in the cult cannot talk to you. So for me, that was that was very difficult. And when we came back to the Netherlands, I reached out a few times to them, but they still were, yeah, kind of. They didn't really want to have something to do with me. And it's interesting because I have found a book, and that's just a few years ago. and it's called. Let me see, because I should have taken it. Surviving Parental Alienation. I show you the book. And this book was for me really an eye opener, because the book tells about that if one of the parents is like alienated by the partner, that is a system. And I didn't know that at all. I just thought it happened to me, but I thought I was the only one. But it seems that it's very common, and that, yeah, it was for me an eye opener that in the book I saw, hey, I'm not the only one. And so I think 3 years ago, one of the twins decided to step out of the cult, because he learned, he met a girl, a very lovely girl, and she was not in the cult. So then you have a problem. Uh, so he was also expelled, and he reached out to me, and he said, "Can we have a conversation?" So then he came to my office, and we get in contact again. And yeah, he told me he had a lot of questions, because there were all kinds of stories told, which were obviously not true, but yeah, there must be told a story. So I could tell him my story, and yeah, since then the contact is very good, and we're close, and he is now expecting a baby with his girlfriend, so we're very happy to be involved. And for the other one, he is still in the cult, and there is no contact. So that is something I have learned to cope with.
I think you're an exceedingly strong individual, and it's difficult for us to actually understand what you were going through at that time. But now coming to the part about what you do with the ladies. So considering the fact that you have had the most extreme traumatic experiences, and you've been emotionally at a very low part, how is what is it that you teach these ladies?
Well, at first, I have a conversation with one of the interested ladies to see if they are really ready for this, because nobody can heal you. If you have a coach or a therapist, or I don't know who says they can heal you, that's a lie. The only one who can heal you, that is you. So if somebody is ready to dive into that, because it's not an easy road. We have to face the traumas, and that's not something you like, because your whole life you have learned to cope with it by avoiding it. So to dive into it is really painful. And if a woman is ready to do that with me, uh, I see remarkable things happen, and I see their business is thriving more, because they release themselves from the pain, but also uh, to feel the pain, and to feel that it's open. They call what I hear a lot, and you can also hear that a lot, I think. It's like, yes, I have a burnout. And I always say, you have a burn in. It's not from the outside, it's inside, which is giving you the problems. And I see a lot of women who are suffering, trying to keep all the balls up, because um, they have the children, and they have a business, and they have the home, and they look after their parents, and so many things going on. And we look at the outside, and we go to the to to buy some beautiful clothes, or we go to have a facial, or we have a massage, but to look inside and to give money or to put money to invest in our inner pain and in our inner beauty, that is something else. So for me, it's important that women have to know you can heal. You can really heal. I can say I am healed. I can say that maybe 5, 6 years ago, I was not ready to talk about this yet. And that I'm ready now to talk about it and to be free about it and to be frank and open about it, that is for me a sign that I'm healed, because I can tell about it without getting very emotional, without getting upset. Um, I am just sharing my story to show women that there is hope. And if you can fall down and you can be knocked down, but you have to get up. And the only one who can get up, that is you.
Very true, my dear. So, I would also like you to share with us what advice do you give to women about being financially independent, because you yourself penniless and destitute. So, what is your advice to women, and how should they go about getting some kind of financial independence?
Well, as you heard by my story, it's very important. It's the most important thing, because when you have money, you are free. You have free choices. And money cannot solve your trauma, because that's the inner work which you have to do. But to be independent makes you also independent in making the decisions which you want to make, and not to stay in something which is unhealthy, which is dangerous, which is not good for you or for your children, because you don't have the money to go. I thought for me it was dying or go, so there was no other option, and I managed to do it. But for me, it's very important. Therefore, at first, my business was named Moneymaker, Hadassah Vorm Moneymaker. And I called it that way because I think every woman is her own moneymaker. And later, I left the moneymaker off because it's not only about the money, it's also about the inner work. But to be financial independent is enormous importance. And also for your children, if you show them that their mother can take care of herself and not is depending on a partner, again, it will free you as a woman. And if you are in a relationship, you stay in the relationship because of love and because of yeah, the happiness you feel and experience, but not because you are stuck.
Quite true, quite true. Okay, so one question I wanted to ask you, because when you were growing up, your mother was not emotionally present for you,
Mhm.
right? And you felt that. But later on, obviously, when you were still in the cult and you had your children, there was still that detachment because you still hadn't healed yourself, etc. So, what is the difference between you being a mom to your first three children and then being a mom later on when you had your other children?
Yes, there was a difference, of course. And I am very thankful that also my daughter is now working on recovering herself on an earlier age than I did. Because as I see now, for the other ones, I was more involved emotionally. And that doesn't mean that you didn't love them. because sometimes I speak with women and say, yeah, but I love my children. It's not about any doubt that you love your children, but to be emotional available means that you are emotional reachable for them. And that was something I didn't had at that age and that stage in my life. And now I can see there is a whole different Hadassah. So that is something which I had to deal with as well, because in the beginning you feel kind of guilt that you think, okay, but now I'm different. And then, but it's all part of your process of healing, and your process of um, forgiving yourself and also forgiving others, because I think most parents try to do their best. Of course, you have always exceptions, but most parents try to do their best. But they also suffer from trauma, or have went through things which they don't speak about, especially the generations before us. There was no discussion about what you went through or what you felt, or so forgiveness and to forgive yourself. That's one of the greatest gifts you can give.
Yeah. Okay, so you talked about, how you were able to work through it. So the women that you work with now, the ones who are coming forward to you, do you find that they are still holding on to a lot of uh, grief, a lot of sadness, etc., because they are they are not strong enough to share, and they feel if they share something, it would be like talking against the family members or the spouse, and it's not allowed, and it's a bad thing to do. Do you have people, women who feel like that?
Yes, because I also, as I told you, in Suriname, I'm also coaching, and there you have different cultural groups, like people from India, people from Africa, people from Indonesia, from Java, and so there's a mixed culture, and you see in the different cultures also a lot of trauma. And of course, slavery is not so long ago. So you still see people struggle with the things they went through, or maybe their grandparents went through, or the great grandparents went through, because it's all in our DNA. All the trauma that our generations have gone through, it's also in your DNA. So it's so important to speak up and to talk about it. And what's also very important, I think, to speak about is that if you have your life built up with all those traumas or things you went through without speaking about it, you balance like, okay, I can handle it, I can handle it. But as soon as something is happening, you get swiped off your feet, and then everything is bubbling up. And you're not in control anymore. And we see in the world, everybody wants to be in control. And the more we want to be in control, the less we are. So I think the most important lesson I have learned is to speak about it, to search for help. There is help available. And to relieve all the pain you have inside, so you can have 100% life. Because if you didn't uh, healed anything yet, it will stuck with you. And believe me, it's a choice. It's a really big choice. I see people, and I know people also in my family who died with all the pain and all the trauma inside, because they didn't want to look at it. It is not an easy road. I know. I speak from experience. It's not a happy road to go. But when you start to to work with it and to work on it, you can feel the relief is coming. And then you see, like, how do you say it? A streaming of energy can move through your body. And a lot of people are breathing like high, because when you go deeper, you go into the pain. It's so important to relieve and to release this pain, and to yeah, to handle it with compassion for yourself.
Yeah, that's a very important point, my dear, because unless you learn to love yourself and to value yourself, you can't do anything. So, as you
Absolutely.
very rightly said, going out and getting a facial and, beautifying yourself and wearing nice clothes doesn't really mean that you love yourself, right? Yes.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we're coming to the end of our interview, my dear. So, in your mind, what is it like some giveaway points that you would like to share with our audience? Something that can get them started on their journey to love themselves, to enjoy life more, have a better relationship with their children, and obviously be financially independent.
I would say start to sit down and listen to yourself, because we're busy. Busy with the telephone, busy with the internet, busy with the Netflix, busy with our work, busy with the family, busy cooking, busy doing shopping. We're constantly busy. And I sometimes have coaches, and then I give them the order to do nothing for 2 weeks. I can tell you, some of them are really angry at me when I say that, because they're overdoing. By overdoing, you don't have time to think. And guess what? You're not sleeping very well, because in the night you will sleep and then you wake up and then the motor is running again. So please take time, invest in yourself by time and by money, to go into the healing process. It will bring you so much more. And think about your financial situation. What kind of situation you are you in right now? Are you depending on a partner? What if the partner should leave? Are you then broke? So take care of yourself, not only from the outside, because the nails and the hair and everything is nice, but also from the inside, and take care of your financials. It's so important.
Very, very true, my dear. And thank you very much for echoing what I say as well. That's why we connected in
I
the first
know.
place,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think it just resonated very much with what you were saying and what I'm saying. And I think one of the other important things that women, especially, doesn't matter where you live, which part of the world you live, you need to be aware of your rights. You need to be aware of the laws that can protect you. And you don't need to
Absolutely.
be a lawyer. You can always reach out to the internet. If you have to use the internet, maybe you should just, Google something to find out your in the country in which you live, or your nationality, your religion. What are the ways that you can use to protect yourself? Because most women in any part of the world, and you know that very well, always come to know something when it's too late.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So is that something else that you talk to the ladies about?
Sometimes, therefore, we hear a lot about burnout, and burnout, which for me is burning. It's because we are doing so much and still don't listen to the inner voice. because the inner voice is telling us, hey, you have to stop, you have to sit down, hey, you. But we go beyond it, we don't listen. And then at a certain age or a certain level, you get a heart attack, or you get high blood pressure, or you're getting sick. And then the damage is already done. So, because when your heart is attacking you, your heart is not attacking you. The trauma is attacking the heart. So, all those things, and like the burnout is a burn in, it's a signal that you have to do something different. And if you are continuing to do constantly the same, will get the same results all the time. So if you are feeling, hey, something is off, I don't feel well, find out what is going on with you and take time for you, because you are the motor in the family. Women are the motor of the family. And if you are falling out, the whole family is falling down. So you
Quite
are a very important person.
very, very true, my dear. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. And as we come to the interview, it's a big thank you from all of us at Ignite with Sandy and the Celestial platform. You already are on our social media, so I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me. And I wish
No,
you all
our
a
pleasure
very
is all mine. The
thank
pleasure is
you.
all mine. Okay. So there we have it, a very open, a very down to earth, a very, what should I say, a person who is not scared to share her trauma, to share what she went through. There's no glossing over it, it's the bare facts. And it's only a very brave woman who can actually do that. So, in conclusion, what did you learn today? Well, I learned that doing nothing is something that I should also be doing nothing. And it's about healing oneself. So, when we talk about this phrase that we use, burnout, what she really said was, we are burning in. So, that's something else that we should be focusing on. And of course, she echoed exactly what I say, money. It gives you choices. So be your money maker. Make yourself financially independent. But also, something very interesting. Although she's been through so much trauma, one thing she's always said is forgiveness. When she was able to forgive whatever happened, she healed a lot. So, what she's saying is, don't keep things inside, talk about it. Don't let it make you worse inside, because as she rightly says, all that emotional stress, all that trauma, all that pain will only make you ill. And if you are not in good health, you can't be a happy, healthy person. You cannot be there for your kids if you have any, or you cannot really enjoy your life. So, value yourself, love yourself, be independent, and most of all, be financially secure. So, on that happy note, I will say bye bye from Ignite with Sandy. But of course, before I go, I have to remind you, you have to like us on our social media, especially our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Do share this interview with your friends because it's very good information. So, with that, thank you very much and God bless. Bye for now.